Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Today's list is kind of a strange list. It's kind of a strange group of signs, but we'll go through them, and I hope that I can explain them well enough that they will hold some sort of context for you. The first three signs don't really exist in ASL. There are signs for them, and they are used sometimes, but technically they are not part of ASL. I include them only because sometimes, especially when you're starting out, it is difficult to know the language well enough in order to communicate what you want to communicate without those three words. So, as you're communicating, try to go without them. But if you need to use them, and sometimes they are used as emphasis, and they will be widely understood by a lot of people, even though they are not technically part of ASL. But the first three words of and, because, and but are communicated, those concepts are communicated in the use of the language and the structure of the sentences that you are using. But until you have that, and since this is not an advanced class at all by any means, I will show them to you so that you can use them. The word and is signed like this. So you have your dominant palm facing your non-dominant side, and you draw it across the front of yourself, and you bring your fingers to your hand into that flat O shape. So and because is signed like this. Because. And that one is signed the very least. Because. And the reason it is signed the very least is, remember when we talked about using rhetorical questions in the structure of the language? So the WH questions, what am I doing? I'm doing that. Why? Need to. Or it's time. Or my responsibility. You don't need to say because. It's already built into it. So the because isn't needed because you already have that rhetorical sense. Trying to think of another example. Can't think of one right off the top of my head, but it's already built into the language that you are, the structure that you are using with the topic, comment, and with the rhetorical WH questions. So, and, because, and, but. But is used sometimes, kind of as a so again, in the context of a sentence, what would be a sentence that uses the word but? I was going to the store, but I forgot my list. So store, I was going to, oops, don't need to say but, oops, or mistake, my list, I forgot. Darn it. or back home. So you don't really need but. We use it all the time in English, right? If and suppose. So take your pinky and put it by your eye. If. This is both if and suppose. Not quite for example, but suppose, kind of like thinking about, oh, this is another thing I wanted to say, harking back, sorry, to our last lesson. We were talking about the word think, and somebody thought that they had learned this as think. Now, this is the sign to think, but there is a sign for thinking about, and that's kind of wobbling, alternating between your index and your middle fingers on your thumbs in a circle. Thinking about. So if you wanted to tell somebody to think about it, go think about it, and they wanted you to give them the answer, or you wanted to express that you were thinking about it, you get a thoughtful look on your face and you'd be thinking about it. So another way you can pose a question or pose a possible solution and say, suppose, or if is done once, suppose is repeated. There's a comment that says, I'm remembering a time when you explained two different types of signing. Signing for deaf people and signing for hearing people. That's true. And I'm trying to walk a balance. There is ASL for the purposes of signing. It's full and beautiful and language with a lot of integrity. And that's how deaf people communicate, or hearing people communicate with deaf people. And that really follows the language and brings out what that language really has to offer in its strengths. Then there's signing with hearing people, or different modes of signing. And that's where some of those English words slip in, like and because and but. And where breakfast, instead of being eat morning, is signed with a B for breakfast, and lunch with an L, and D for dinner. Those are all kind of more hearing-based signs. It's called Signing Exact English, or SEE. And that is a method of signing that is adopted by some and taught to some children. There's a segment of the deaf community that chooses to sign that way, generally with children, and then as adults move into full-on ASL. So there's a lot more to all of this. But you can eventually get there if you want to pursue it. This is just the very beginning. So I want to give you some of those options to make yourself more clear while you're learning more, and also to expose you to a little bit of a variety and know that there's some give and take. In. I think we've done this one before. In. So your hand, your non-dominant hand is kind of like a cup or a container, and you got the flat O, and it tucks in. Then out is out. out. The opposite of in. Front. This is your front, so it's right in front of your face, flat hand. Front. Back. Just point to the back with your thumb. Oh, good question. How does the structure of ASL interfere with a student being able to write sentences that follow written grammar structure? I assume you mean written English grammar structure. And this is the crux of deaf education. And this is where people get hung up and argue and debate and research, and it's a big thing. And so there are a lot of factors that go into that, the answer to that question. I would say that the overall, like to pick one general response to that, is that like children who come in as English language learners, come from a home language that is different than English, they get full immersion into English and they pick it up quickly because they already have a full language structure established in their brains. And that's the important thing, is that kids have a full language structure. It's okay if it's a different language. But they have, their brains have already been arranged into having a full language. If you don't have a full language, it's very difficult to add on a second partial language. So it's really important that kids have a full language that they know and have complete access to from the beginning, or are taught in detail so that they have access to a whole language. And it's a monumental piece of work if you are a deaf person and you are learning a language that is auditorily based. So difference between a child who is learning English as a second language, so somebody comes from China, is fluent in Chinese, comes in and learns English in school, they have the difference between that and a deaf child who's coming from some signing or some hearing, but not complete hearing or not complete signing, so not a complete language base, and then coming in to learn English, is that they don't have full access to English because they have hearing loss that denies them access to all of the sounds of the language. So the goal is to provide a robust language base that has integrity so that a brain can switch between one and the other. I don't know that that fully gives you an answer, but it's the start of one, and it is worth contemplating. And it is also why a lot of children who have hearing loss, who don't hear everything that is spoken in their family life and get that early learning auditory language development, or who do not have parents who are fluent in signing to give that to them, why they do have some differences in their language and their grasp of the world and their ability to have the same kinds of social skills as everybody else, because they haven't had access to all of that. So they need instruction and support in learning those things. And they can pick those up quite easily, or with diligent instruction at any rate. Back to our list, but really good question. Throw any others you have up. So we have front, we have back, next to, can be next to, or next to, On. On. You have a surface and something is on it, or on it if it's something taller. Over. Move your hand in a circle. Over. Under can be in a circle under, or you can take your fist like an A fist and move it under. Under. Inside of is the same as in. With. Two A's, knuckles together. With. With. Peanut butter with jelly. With. Possessives versus non-possessive. So think in broad categories, pointer versus whole hand. So me, point to yourself with your pointer finger. Me, but mine is a flat hand. Mine. You, pointing at somebody else. You, yours. Them, you would kind of encircle. You're looking at a group of people over there. That group, them, theirs. We, so we includes yourself, right? So you take your pointer finger and you point to your dominant shoulder and you make an arc around to your non-dominant shoulder. And that shows that you are including something other than just yourself. So us, and then ours is your whole hand. Flat hand again, ours. So us, ours. Sometimes people sign we by doing a W. This is a signed English thing as well. But you can just use your finger, it's easier. You don't have to use a W. You can just say us, we, and ours. And then the addition of self. So myself, yourself, themselves. So myself is an A, and then my knuckles go against me. So think of like your thumb as the person, myself. So it's kind of like mine and me together would be myself. Yourself would be yourself. Thumb pointing towards you. Themselves, themselves. So you'd identify the group first, kind of like topic comment. That group, themselves. I think we might have talked about this in our phrases class, but you know, up to you, up to me, up to them is think myself. Up to me, up to you, up to them. So think you, think them, think me. So if you wanted to say, if somebody asked you a question and you want to say something, you want to say, well, that's up to you. Think self. There's another question. I noticed myself switching dominant hands. Does that cause confusion for my communication partner, basically? Yeah, a little bit. Stick with your dominant hand, and switching it right now is just because you're learning it. Unless you always switch your dominant hand, you know, or ambidextrous. And if you are a lefty, then use your left hand as your dominant hand. It's okay. That's totally okay. Nobody's even going to notice that you sign with your left hand. People are noticing dominant versus non-dominant. And there are ways that hands move, because your dominant hand is the one that does the movement and your non-dominant one is the one that holds the space or provides the foundation for things to sit on or to work against. So try not to switch that, because it does get a little confusing, but also understand that you're probably doing it because you're just learning. And you're right. There's a comment about it's because the mirror image. So one of the things that you learn about as you're learning signing is that there's this real world perspective versus signer's perspective. So it's that whole thing about mirroring. So like, you know, babies, you say bye-bye to a baby, and when they start learning how to wave bye-bye, how do they do it? They do it by waving it themselves, because that's what they see, and they haven't learned to turn that around and take the perspective of you. So if I am signing something, then you can either take my perspective and present that as the same sign, or you end up just mirroring it or copying it. And that would make you change, go back and forth between your dominant and your non-dominant, because you're mirroring versus switching your perspective. That would be real world perspective is mirroring versus a signer's perspective. I'm the one signing, so you are kind of putting yourself in my perspective. So we've done them, theirs, themselves, we, us, ours, myself, yourself, themselves. All right. Good questions today, you guys. A lot. A lot. And it could be a lot. Watch the face. It can be a lot, or it can be a lot, or it could be a lot. All, non-dominant hand facing yourself, palm facing yourself, dominant hand facing out, and you take this around and land it in your palm. All. All. Kind of like you're scooping everything and bringing it in front of you. All. None. Make 2 zeros and go out. Put them, start them together and go out. None. Nothing. Null. None. Gone. We've talked about this one a couple weeks ago. Gone. Hand, your non-dominant palm, and then your dominant palm, all are gone. It's gone. Ran out. It's gone. It's gone. This would be losing something. Something has disappeared, it's gone. Versus run out of, gone. Many start with two S's, two S fists, and go many, many, many. Not. Thumb on your chin, not. Not. Not right. Not funny. Not. And sometimes it's just not. Enough said. Other. 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 Some. Non-dominant palm up. Other palm, dominant hand at the top, where your meat of your hand, right here, starts right here, and you just go down. Some. Kind of like thinking about dividing. This is everything, and this would break it into this and this. So this would be some. Some. Before, have your non-dominant palm facing out, and then your other hand, your dominant hand with the backs of your hands together, and bring the dominant hand towards you. Before. Before this. Before. After is going to be the opposite. So instead of this, you start with this, and you after. After. From here on forward. Or after. After. Later, non-dominant hand up, L shape, thumb against your palm, and just pivot your L. Later. Later. Now, it's your Y's pulled down in front of you. Now, like today. Now day, today. Now. Soon has two signs. Soon is two H's. Soon, like knife, short, cut, egg. Soon. Soon. Or take your pinchers and do it on your chin. Soon. And you make a ooh sound. I mean, a ooh shape. Soon. Not yet. Oh boy, you're gonna love this when you get to use your tongue. So put your arm out, your dominant arm out, hand hanging down, and then you just use your hand to signal to the back, and then you stick out your tongue. Not yet. And you shake your head back and forth. Will. Palm, dominant palm by your cheek, and you move it out. I will. I will do that. Already. So if something happened already, same as finished. Already. Finished, done, already. Without. We did with and without. Without. So it's like with and drop. Without. Here. Here. Palms facing up, just back and forth. Here. There depends on where there is. There, there. You just point. There, there. Away, like go away or far away are two different things, but away would be to wave somebody away. Go away, away. If something is far away, you're going to take your A thumbs, A fist with the thumb, and you're going to put one in front of the other, and you're going to move one far away. You exaggerate on your face. Far. It's away. And if it's, you know, far, far away, use your tongue. Oh, oh, it's way far away. Oh. Or it's far and then with your pinky, I mean your pointer. Far. Oh. Can. A's. Can. Can. You can do that. I can do this. Can. That's often not used. It's not often used either because it's kind of superfluous if something is yes, you may, by nodding your head or saying yes. So sometimes it's really only used for literal clarification. You can. Can't. It's two pointers. One negates the other. Can't. Can't. And you have to shake your head. Can't. Same as can. You get to nod. Can. Can't. Must is a crooked, like an X. Crook. Must. You must. So it's a firmer can. Must. And required is your palm, non-dominant palm, and which is hooked by kind of an X shape by your dominant pointer and pulled towards you. Required. It'd be like the law requires. It's a requirement. All right, I'm going to go back to the top and review everything. Throw any questions into the chat box. And remember, these first three are not used very often. And because but if Suppose. Suppose. In. Out. 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 Front. Back. Side. Side. Next to. Next to. On. Over. Under. Under. With. With. Without. Without. Me. Mine. You. Yours. Them. Theirs. Us. We. Ours. Ours. Myself. Yourself. Themselves. A lot. All. All. None. Gone. Gone. Like something's missing. Gone out. Have run out of. Or it's all gone. Many. Many. And you can do many, 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 many. Not. 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 Other. Other. Some. Some. Before. 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 After. Or after. This being where we are now. After. Later. 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 Now. Soon. Or soon. Not yet. Will. Will. Already. Already. Here. Here. There. There. Away. That's like go away, or it's gone away. Far away. Far away. Far away. Or away. Ah. Can. Can't. Can't. Must. Need to. Need. Must. Required. Required. Question, if you had a kindergartner, would you use required or have to? Like if you're going to say you have to, yeah, I would use this, must. Required is, yeah, I would use required for older, and it's kind of verging on law more, you know, or an absolute. It's a stronger word. It's a much stronger word. Have to. Yep, got to. You got to do that. Need to. Thanks for coming, you guys. Bye.